Hello, my name is Rebecca Guitron. I am a nursing student at Indiana State University, the LPN to BSN program. This presentation will focus on caregiver burnout. It is part of the Nursing 444 course, a population-focused community health nursing class. Before we dive in to caregiver burnout, let's go over some other terms that may be given for caregiver burnout. These terms include, but are not limited to, caregiver stress syndrome, caregiver role strain, and caregiver exhaustion. Again, these are not the only terms for caregiver burnout. However, these are the most common that you might see. The population at risk. So the population that is at risk for caregiver stress and caregiver burnout are, as you might have guessed, caregivers. Caregivers may be formal or informal. An example of a formal caregiver is someone who cares for a patient at a facility or through an agency. An informal caregiver may be someone who cares for a loved one or a family member in the home setting. Really, a caregiver is a person who is caregiving for another person, whether it is on a temporary basis or permanent, at a facility or in home. Again, this could be in many different settings. It could be someone who is caring for a loved one in the home. It could be an employee at a care facility who is caring for a client or multiple clients. Learning objectives. After viewing this video, the learner will be able to identify the population at risk for caregiver stress and burnout. The learner will be able to recognize the signs of caregiver burnout and stress. The learner will be able to discuss steps and measures that can be taken to help prevent and manage caregiver burnout. And the learner will be able to locate support resources for caregiver stress and burnout. At this time, you may pause this video and please take the pretest, which is located below the video in the description box as a link form. When you are finished, please resume the video. Thank you. What is caregiver burnout? Caregiver burnout is extreme stress from caregiving. It is a state of emotional, physical, and mental distress to the point where it affects work performance and other aspects of daily life, such as social relationships and activities of daily living, leisure activities, etc. Caregiver burnout is depression and anxiety from caregiving responsibilities, and it usually results from long-term caregiving, although short-term caregiving may cause caregiver burnout as well. It is more frequently seen in caregivers of people with dementia and Alzheimer's. Causes of caregiver burnout may be a heavy workload, emotional demands, as it may be extremely demanding to care for others, especially over longer periods of time. Role confusion, as it may be difficult for the caregiver to separate roles as a caregiver from roles in personal life, such as spouse, sibling, parent, etc. Unrealistic expectations may lead to caregiver burnout. Often the caregiver might assume that the care they provide might show improvement on the health of the patient, whose health is overall deteriorating. And this may lead to failed expectations that the patient and/or loved one will get better. This can be extremely disheartening and lead to anxiety. Lack of control may also cause caregiver burnout. Watching someone's health degrade may lead to a lack of sense of control and may lead to helplessness and hopelessness. Some more causes of caregiver burnout include unreasonable demands. Some caregivers may place high expectations of themselves in caring for a loved one or patient, viewing the patient's well-being as their exclusive responsibility. This may lead to the caregiver disregarding their own self-care needs. Conflicting demands. Everyone has needs and demands: employers, employees, spouses, children, etc. Trying to meet the needs of everyone may create stress, anxiety, and motivation loss in the caregiver. A consistent lack of privacy may also lead to caregiver burnout. Often, the caregiver may experience little to no time to themselves, as the care for their patient or loved one is very time-consuming. This is especially true regarding in-home caring for a loved one. Oftentimes, conflicting policies and procedures may lead to caregiver burnout. For formal caregivers, this may prevent the caretaker from doing what they believe is best for the patient. For in-home caregivers, this may prevent the caregiver from receiving the services they might need. What are the signs and symptoms of caregiver burnout? The hallmark signs and symptoms of caregiver burnout are extreme fatigue, physical and emotional, anxiety, irritability, depression, sleep issues such as trouble sleeping, insomnia, and sleep deprivation, feeling hopeless and helpless. Sometimes these may lead to abuse of the patient or loved one. Oftentimes, the caregiver will experience lowered self-esteem, and they may withdraw from daily living and activities that they once enjoyed. The caregiver may experience lifestyle changes, such as increased tiredness and feeling run down. They may partake in less leisure activity that they once enjoyed. They may overreact to minor mishaps and have an overall negative outlook. They may neglect responsibilities such as their own self-care and personal hygiene. They may neglect the care of their dependents. And they may partake in old or new habits such as smoking, drinking, and binge eating. The caregiver may experience concentration issues as well. Preventing and relieving caregiver burnout. The silver lining to caregiver burnout is that it can be avoided. In order to avoid caregiver burnout, the caregiver must practice self-care. This is critical. Self-care includes daily exercise, eating well, including a diet full of vegetables and fruits, maintaining proper sleep hygiene, getting enough sleep every single day, as well as keeping up on doctor visits and well checks, and maybe finding a relaxation technique. Some other steps that the caregiver may take to relieve or prevent burnout is to give yourself a break or two and find appreciation. Give yourself some credit for the hard work that you're doing. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Respite care is always available. Respite care is temporary care for the patient or loved one while the caretaker is relieved from duty. This may be for a formal or informal caregiver, but the option for respite care will always be there. The caregiver can help themselves feel more empowered by sharing feelings with supportive people and maintaining personal health. There are many resources available to the caregiver, and finding these resources is a must to help find support that is so greatly needed. You can join a support group for caregivers. They offer online and in-person groups. As a reminder, these changes and steps can be taken at any time to relieve caregiver stress and burnout. However, please seek medical attention if you are experiencing anxiety and depression. There are many resources available for caregivers. This may be local or online support groups, and they are available everywhere. The hallmark resources available for caregivers throughout the U.S. are the American Association of Retired Persons, the AARP, the Area Agency of Aging, AAA, as well as the Elder Care Locator. You may find these resources via an online search or in the government section of your telephone directory. These resources can help you. The resources used in the making of this video. Please have a look at the provided handout and the post test, which is located below this video in the description box. Thank you for watching.